Hi, it's Andy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Welcome to the A.D.K rock and metal channel, and today we're checking out the new single Jaded by the band Spiritbox.
Yes.
Band that Kirk obviously likes. Andy, you heard of Spiritbox?
In our chat, it came up that this might be possibly on this session. Kirk has mentioned them as either an influence or support of somebody else we've talked about, but I can't think who. I don't really know anything about them, to be honest.
Andy, are you ready for the hype? These are the current metal band, the future of the genre. You know, when Metal Hammer and Kerrang and all these publications, I know they mentioned Sleep Token, Spiritbox were that band in 2021. So,
do you know what?
This might put
Who
you
else
off.
have you used them in conversation with, though? Recently, they've come up in conversation.
Testament, Tesseract, I think.
Tesseract, yes.
See, for me, I've heard the name, and because of the name, I've never checked it out, because it's one of those names, I'm like, it's a shit name. I'm sorry, Spiritbox. When I think Spiritbox, I think, is it a type of trainer? It's a trainer box, it's Spiritbox. It just doesn't resonate with me with a
like a
type
metal
of band
band.
I'm going to listen to.
I've no idea what genre this is going to be, so it'd be
I'm not
interesting.
going to say anything. I want to know what your opinion is.
Go for it.
Let's go check it out. Here we go.
I feel alone in my body. I feel a silence underneath. In these valleys of blood, in these rivers of rust, shoulder all the blame again. We were locked into the end. It was violent and rough. I was never enough. But what if I was? Take all enough till I lay down the road. Like the remorse swam. What if I was? Let's try 1,000 lives to get my goals. It's never enough. It's never enough. And I've always been ashamed that I wanna fall into a dream with my honor desecrated, blood jaded. I've never found a way to be honest. All I know is a place where I hide and memories faded, blood jaded. And my dreams all I see is the crimson gate, tethered by a falling string, meant to turn in the love for me. I can't leave, so I justify. It's a lumber of confidence, under pressure of influence. Not a curse that I could never do right. What if I was? What if I was? And I've always been ashamed that I wanna fall into a dream with my honor desecrated, blood jaded. I've never found a way to be honest. All I know is a place where I hide and memories faded, blood is jaded. I know where I wanna go, but you know that it's too close. And you know that it's too late this time. And I've always been ashamed that I wanna fall into a dream with my honor. I've never found a way to be honest. All I know is a place where I hide and memories faded, blood is jaded.
Okay, there we go. Spiritbox and Jaded. Let's do our round the rooms thoughts and feelings for overall straight away to Andy.
Yeah, I think as we discussed off camera, it's not a band I know, and as we also have discussed on many videos before, the name needs to be something that draws me to the music. To be honest, I mean, Spiritbox doesn't tell you anything. It just seems to be like two random words spliced together. And I think if you was to ask the band what it means, they'd probably just say, "Oh, we just came up with it. It sounded kind of cool." There's no other band called it. It doesn't really give much away, to be honest. But saying that, when the intro started, the opening riff, it was heavier than I was expecting. Her vocals came in, and they were, I've noted down that it's a sweet voice. It's kind of it was satisfactory. It's nothing sort of groundbreaking. But then her aggressive vocals, I did quite like. Not nearly as aggressive as perhaps I would normally sort of enjoy. And let's be honest, they're not a band I'm going to pursue any further. But the aggressive vocals were quite decent. The guitars were kind of buried in the mix. You couldn't really make out much in the way of riffs. But I did like the visuals of the video. The sort of mirrors, distorted reflections kind of thing. Not really much I can say to it, to be honest. It's not really my genre. Didn't blow me away at all, but her aggressive vocals were quite good. I'll as a positive going, taken from the video.
Okay. So for me, I'm going to talk about the video bit first. Of course, I always look for a story of some sort of element. Based on the title Jaded in the video, I can't quite work out what the video is about. But visually looking, it looks really good. Very impressed with the fact that you're using multiple mirrors and you didn't at one point see anyone with an actual camcorder in the hand. So if you're thinking about all those reflections going on, you would expect at one of those reflections just to get an off-shadow catch. And I was looking for it of just some cameraman in one of the reflections where they've just got a reflection bounce, but I didn't see any of those. So very, very well thought out video. Do you know what I mean? Stylization-wise, Spiritbox, this particular song, I don't know how much of a reference this is for other material by Spiritbox, how similar this is to other things, if this is a standout track, if this is something that's a bit off kilter for them. I'm really not sure, and I'm sure, Kirk, you're going to take us through that. It feels like a kind of mashup of three different bands that I know.
Yes, you're going to mention Ginger as one of them.
Just for the heavy guitar part.
We do need to get the cliche out the way and mention Ginger. Is that going to be one of the three?
Just, a little bit. Just a bit some of the heavier sort of down tunes and a little bit vocally of the aggressive vocal stuff. Just because there's the other few female aggressive vocal styles I've heard, like Alicia Gulaz-White from Arch Enemy, is a much more guttural growl. So she's quite, whereas in this case with Ginger, hers is quite a bit more rounded, a bit more warmer, which is why I'd use it as a reference point. They do lean in this particular track towards the goth rock genre in goth metal, so I can definitely hear like the choruses. I actually know the verse as well, that like bass-led verse, very Evanescence, and also her clean vocals. The Birthday Massacre would have been my other point of reference, which is interesting because you talked about when we did the Birthday Massacre review, you talked about her clean vocals and you said, yeah, clean vocals all right, nothing special, which is exactly what you've just said here about this clean vocals. And I think that's where I kind of hear the same sort of thing. She's got a nice, good, clean voice. I like the clean voice. I like the heavy vocals. For me, this is missing that, I guess, I hate using the word, but the X factor of something to connect me. I've listened to it. It's a nice track. I've already forgotten how it goes. There's nothing wrong with the track, but there wasn't anything. As it's the first time I've heard this band, there wouldn't be anything that made me listen to this and go, wow, this is a band I need to go through their back catalogue. But there isn't anything about this song that makes me go, I don't want to listen to them again. This is a sort of band with this track would make me go, yeah, do you know what? I've listened to a few more tracks, see if there's something there for me. But this song hasn't hooked me in. And we know there always is a gateway song for a lot of people. You just got to find the right song that's going to get you into the band. And this is a band I could get into. I've just got to know a little bit more about them for me. So, Kirk, your thoughts?
Yeah, some of the feedback you've said there is very useful as well. And Andy, I can understand where you're coming from. And Dave, yeah, I think let me make a disclosure then. So I'm a patron of this band. I signed up to their Patreon campaign during lockdown, so it would have been 2021. So I pay £30 a month into the Patreon account, this band. I don't think they need that money now. This band are huge. They just played the Roundhouse in Camden and completed a UK tour. Clearly, that song, the only thing that disappointed me, relies too much on the chorus, which is a fantastic chorus. Do you know what it reminds me of? Shirley Manson of Garbage. Okay. And also that, do you remember that electronic shoegaze band from the 90s called Curve? They're clearly an influence as well. I don't think this was, I think it's a return to form. The single before this, I still can't get my head round. It doesn't really go anywhere. This is from an upcoming EP that comes out in November, by the way. So in 2021, they released an album called Eternal Blue, and there was so much hype behind it, and it lived up to the hype. They were on the front cover of Metal Hammer, Scream Blast Repeat. We had it at number 2, or was it number 3 of our top 50 albums of the year. Game changer, it really is. That's not that you're right. That this isn't a gateway song. This wouldn't get me into Spiritbox. It was the first song I'd heard. I start with Holy Roller, which is absolutely fucking brutal, that song. Do you know how she demonstrated some of her harsher vocal register in that song? Not enough for me. Honestly, she along with Tatiana Ginger is the best in the business, and I put Megan in there from Vexed as well. Her harsh vocals, she does the full belting technique at the loudest decibels you can imagine. She's like Periphery standard. Clearly that song Tesseract are the main influence on it, I think, musically. Andy, remember we've reviewed a song this year, haven't we, from Tesseract. I hear their imprint all over this band. So I know that she's a fan of Deftones and Meshuggah, but also System of a Down and bands like that. To me, Dave, I'm going to end it on a controversial note. The reason that alternative metal is a thing is because of this band. Clearly, when you've got influences like Björk and Depeche Mode and Portishead, and you're mixing that with Meshuggah and Periphery and metalcore, you're clearly coming at it from an alternative point of view. And when I say alternative, I mean the original meaning, good pop music that wasn't manufactured and engineered by major labels. Alternative music at its heyday in the 80s and 90s, didn't it? They're influenced by some of those artists, but this is clearly a metal band. I just wish they were a bit more proggier like they had done on their earlier stuff, but I'm not worried. It's only an EP that's coming out in November as well, but my God, the expectation levels for this band is going to be huge when they come to release an album in 2024.
That certainly wasn't full belting, top decibel vocal delivery, was it? So
no.
Why isn't she performing like that on this particular track, do you think?
I don't know. Maybe the mood didn't.
Just the track itself, music that sort of suits it not to be quite as aggressive, for want of a better word.
Possibly, yeah, because it's quite sorrowful, isn't it? The vocal melody in the chorus. I think she's an excellent singer, by the way. But some of the earlier stuff, what they would do, the middle eight, they would go full on into like, a Periphery type riff. They've stopped doing that now. That's my only concern. It's like, are they going to go more in an industrial direction, like Garbage covering Nine Inch Nails with the 8-string guitars? That'd still be interesting, but yeah, I understand why you wouldn't see this. This isn't a gateway song. I don't think this would blow people away. Certainly go back and listen to Rule of Nines or their singles collection. I guarantee you would enjoy those.
But it's interesting we've obviously mentioned Ginger, Periphery, Tesseract, stuff like that. Because if you're not really into those sort of bands, they all sound very similar to each other when you listen to them musically. But when you're into those sort of bands, you can really pinpoint the differences between the two. So like someone who listens to thrash metal, if you listen to thrash metal, you know the differences to all the different thrash bands, what the strengths, what opportunities. And you go, no, there is no way you could say Megadeth and Metallica sound the same. They don't sound the same. But someone who doesn't listen to thrash metal would listen to them and go, aren't they the same band? They're pretty much the same, aren't they? And that's why you get really annoyed, because you're like, how dare you say that? They don't sound the same. And that's what I'm kind of like with this. I'm like, I hear a lot of stuff's very similar. And a bit of feedback I was going to give it, I've heard so many bands like this. And that's why I feel like this market's almost becoming flooded again, which it isn't, because of these bands obviously stand out. But because I'm not part of that scene, I'm not really into that sort of genre of this sort of metalcore, modern alternative metal, progressive metal style, and Gentin and stuff like that. I'm not really into any of that. I feel every time I hear any band do it, I'm like, just sounds like the last one I heard. like when we did that metalcore day where we listened to like 8 bands of metalcore. I'm like, it all sounded bloody same to me. I have no idea what's going on.
But look at Andy's reaction. It was like 5 lines. That was it. You just really didn't have anything. It just didn't do anything for you, did it, Andy?
No,
You didn't really dislike it either. It just didn't do anything for you, did it?
Yeah, like you said, Dave, it's not nothing that blows you away, but it's not a bad song either. But you know, it wasn't. You know, it didn't do much for me, but then it wasn't a bad song. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my summary was brief, but that's really all I could say about it.
Fair enough. There we go. Spiritbox and Jaded, which is what Andy is. If you like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on another video sometime very soon. Take care.